I'm going to wrap up the series on the Bullhead Flint. Yeah, remember? I got 2 previous videos on this where I napped some of this down to bifaces. Alright, so let me take a snapshot of this for the thumbnail, and then I want to sample those other pieces in there. And then I'll wrap it up. I might make a point out of one of these and turn this into an instructional video. How's that? Alright, so let me take a snapshot of that. And then let's get into another one of these pieces. I can try to do a rock to point. Let's see. On one of these smaller, yeah, I'll just nap this little small one here with the face on it. And tell you my mindset for the whole process. The whole process. Let's see, let's take a snapshot of this one too. Okay, so we're going to nap this piece. And I will attempt to make it instructional. Yes, yes. Alright, a little copper bopper. I'm not sure exactly what these weights are. Unfortunately, maybe that's 6 ounce, maybe that's 3 ounce. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're not labeled. And I don't have my scale here in my shop. It's in the house. Okay, so we're going to make a point out of this. Do I measure these before I make points? Yes and no. I'll measure them if I have to make them to a specification, to see if I think I have enough space, and if I don't have a pattern to work from starting off. Like this right now, I don't have a pattern to work from, so it's 4 inches. It's plenty long enough for a point. I think I'm going to make a barbed and tanged point out of it, which gives me a lot of leeway. All right, so let's, instead of just talking about anything else, let's do some searching on my mindset. The first thing to do is just skin off a lot of this cortex. The number one thing that is in my mind when I start is to eliminate the worst first. Okay, eliminate the worst first. I look at this, what's the worst problem I have? It's got a nice shape, it's got a nice size. The worst problem I have is the cortex. I need that removed because it does not nap well. I can make this very, very basic, or I can skip the obvious. One of the obvious things is that the cortex doesn't nap well. I said that because, I mentioned it because maybe some people don't know that. But I'm thinking that maybe I'm getting too basic. That information is too well known. How about this? I look around and I need to start removing the cortex, but where do I start? I start with the easiest spot that I'm thinking is the easiest. After thousands and thousands of hits, I think this is the easiest spot. If I'm brand new, I don't know what the easiest spot is other than maybe the spot without the cortex. So this has got 2 advantages. It's got a nice angle and it's got not much cortex, so I can hit there to start the process of skinning off the cortex. There's different ways to do it. To keep it simple, I'm just going to zigzag it for you. There's more complicated ways, yes. Oh yes, but we're going to keep it simple. Okay? And the first strike is usually a test strike. My mindset is I want to see how well it naps or how it doesn't nap. Maybe it doesn't nap well. So you take a test strike in an area where it seems to be easiest. So that was an easy strike. It took me more than one hit because I don't go for flake removal right away. I build up to it. Same with the size of the flakes. I build up to the size of the flakes. I don't go, all right, after thousands and thousands of hits, I think that I can take a big old flake off of this first try, first hit with the first attempt. Some people do it that way. Not me. I test everything. Even though I've napped this stuff 100 times, I still test and little flakes to begin with. When I'm in the correct frame of mind. If I'm just kind of goofing around and I'm not really paying attention or I'm impatient, yeah, I might take a big old flake, or I might even crack this in half if it's really long and I don't want to make a long piece. I will intentionally crack it in half. Yeah, I have been known to do that before. Yeah. I don't do it on video because people get all upset. Yeah, there's some types of stone are like snap in half-ish. I do this and I can automatically tell it's going to be very fragile, so I just break it in half. So I only have to deal with small pieces, and I don't have to spend a lot of time wasted making a long piece out of something that's going to snap. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to snap anyway. It saves me time if I work with something that I know is not going to break. Okay. I don't know for sure. Just keep in mind, if I ever say that I know, or that I'm controlling it, or that I'm sure of something, if I ever say those things, I don't mean to say them, because nothing is set. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is going to follow the rules perfectly as far as the stone goes. I won't follow the rules perfectly as a human. The stone doesn't respond the same way every time. And we try to make rules for stones. They don't always facilitate the types of flakes that we want. Okay? So that's the background of the mindset. All these things go through the mind quickly, if at all, when you start. Okay. So I'm just testing. There it goes. I don't want to hit harder than I need to, because you run into problems. What kind of problems do you run into? The problems where it breaks. Just to put it simply, you don't want to break it. I used to kid around and say, every single hit is, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it. They used to be, I kid around and I say, that's my mindset. Don't break it, don't break it. Every hit, it's in the back of my mind. Don't break it, don't break it. Take a flake, but don't break. Take a flake, but don't break. The mindset is more complicated than that, yes. But it's subconscious. After thousands and thousands of hits, I don't think about it too much. So I call this zigzagging. Sometimes it removes a flake that's bigger than I think it's going to be. Usually because my accuracy is off. I took a big flake and it's not like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. No, I hit too high. The accuracy was off. Luckily, it didn't mess it up. But the flake removal is not always intentional. The shape of the flake. The flake itself, or the attempt, it's an intentional attempt, but the result can be incidental. Which means it's not really planned. It's just, it happens, and if it's okay, if it works out, it works out. If it scoops out too much, it's like, oops. I don't have to abrade it when I'm zigzagging it, but I picked up the Abrader because I felt that maybe I should take this off. You know, give myself a couple opportunities to flatten this out. Because it's too... I like to keep it thin on the ends and fattest in the middle. If it starts getting too skinny or scooped out in the middle, I'll take more off the ends. I'll go, oops, back up a little bit. So that's my main mindset on that, what I'm doing. And after thousands and thousands of hits with all kinds of stone, I kind of know how much force to use. And you know, I'm experimenting, you know. This is a mistake, but it's no big deal at this stage. My mindset says, yeah, I know it's a mistake, but so what? I attempted to take another flake, it didn't work. No big deal. The only time it really matters a lot is in the final stages. It's a bummer to have these step fractures and crushings in the final stages. I'm seeing that it's an easy stone to do that with. So I just got to keep that in mind later, because it's probably going to require me to abrade the edges more and use indirect percussion rather than a billet for more accuracy. Accuracy does reduce the mistakes of all kinds. Accuracy is one of the leading causes, if not the leading cause of mistakes. The accuracy. You don't need much accuracy at this stage, but you do need some to help prevent these. They're not good in any situation. It's not too bad right now because there's thickness that can be removed. If this happens on the thin stage, it's difficult to remove. And yes, that's part of the initial mindset. Is this stuff going to be crackly now that I'm getting into it? It's part of the initial mindset that I have. Oops, it looks like it's going to be very easy to mess up. Unless I grind it a lot and focus on accuracy. Okay, well, I'm going to continue to zigzag because that was my original intent. So that's what I'm going to do. I need to zigzag it and get rid of a lot of the cortex, if not all of it. It's best if I get rid of all of it during this operation. See, I'm just creeping up on it because I'm hitting too high. In general, I don't want to be hitting too high. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm getting used to the new bopper. I haven't used this one in a while. I don't feel like I'm being accurate, but the accuracy improves. Yeah, this is not. I'm afraid to use the billet because of the fact that I've gotten some mistakes. So I can't be hitting without getting results because it causes incipient cracks. So I'm going to switch over to indirect percussion to increase my accuracy. The accuracy may or may not be an issue, but it's usually a big issue. So let's see. See, I might be hitting right here on this edge instead of down there. I can prepare the edge better for the billet if I wanted to ensure that the billet is hitting a solid area rather than kind of a, I don't know, a ridgy area. That I think the billet was hitting that ridge on the cortex, and the cortex absorbs energy, and it might have been slipping as well. The billet might have been slipping. I don't want to get into all the possibilities, but the mindset at this stage is, okay, what went wrong? I don't know, I'm not sure. So most of the time I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So since the lack of accuracy is a big part of failure, switch to something more accurate. Maybe there's less failure. That's the mindset. Sometimes I just get impatient with the billet. I say I gotta switch to something new. Switch to indirect percussion or a different billet. Something new if I'm getting impatient or if it seems like it's frustrating. Just try something else. After thousands and thousands of hits, do I know what to switch to? Yes, but it's still experimentation. And the way that I'm napping now is not the way I normally nap because I'm trying to explain it. So keep it in mind. This is not how I normally nap as far as the time it's taking me and the choices I'm making. This is not how I normally nap. It happens on a subconscious level to a large extent. So if you're thinking I'm napping exactly how I normally nap, no. If I'm trying to explain it, you're not seeing how I normally nap. You can see how I normally nap when I'm not explaining things. Okay? I hope that's clear. If I had to explain it, it changes my mindset. It makes me think about it too much, which leads to more mistakes. Yeah, I'm just saying that so you can cover up your mistakes, dude. No. It might seem that way. I don't want to make mistakes on video. Right? So it could be that. It could be that I'm just making an excuse. But I find that if I'm honest, I find that if I explain too much, I mess it up. Or if I think about it too much, I mess it up. I have found that to be true after many, many videos and many, many explanations. So I'm going back to zigzagging. I don't need to abrade. I'm just hitting on the previous flake scar. Would it work better if I abrade? I don't know. It might. Might not. It might just waste time. If it does not improve things, it's just a waste of time. If it helps students, if I knew it would help you a lot to show abrading with every step, I would do it. But I have not had the experience that new guys need to see a lot of abrading stuff going on. What they're concerned about is the angles. What angles am I striking? What angles am I using to strike? And the answer is yes. I'm using almost every angle you can think of within a certain range. There is a certain range, depending on what you're doing. I'm zigzagging. So the angles that I'm using for this, they're not like unlimited. It's within a certain range, but I can't tell you that range because I don't know. You'll just have to observe that and see. And test out what you can do, what kind of flakes you can remove. Okay? I'm making it a little bit simpler for you because I'm just zigzagging for the most part. I'm not doing a lot of inward flaking. I'm making a bunch of crud flakes that I can't use, so I'm not taking off big flakes like I do sometimes. I'm actually doing it a much more measured, careful, and safer way than I normally do. Just because I'm trying to explain it and I don't want to mess it up. Alright, so that takes off most of the cortex. I went all the way around, zigzagging. And I did a little bit of thinning on the tip. And a little bit of extra shaping. But, you know, I've got a step fracture there I'm able to see what's under now. What's under the cortex now. I got that step fracture there in material that is not so great. This other stuff is good. The darker stuff is good on this particular piece. The lighter stuff appears to be more difficult to nap. Now, I've been talking about mental templates. When you start out, my mental template is a barbed and tanged, right? But I don't have to start thinking about that exactly right now. It'll fit within any kind of triangular piece. I'm not going for a specific length, so I'm not going to be measuring. I don't have a pattern to go by, so with this particular point, this particular mindset is, let's just get this flattened out and see what material we can use. Maybe we have to eliminate some of this crud. Once we got it down to something I can use, then I can start thinking how to shape it into a barbed and tanged. That's the particular mindset for this particular piece. It's usually different for each piece. Yeah. Except for the initial design. If you got a design in mind, you can keep that design in your head and say, okay, this is a good piece or not. You know, you might keep it or toss it depending on if your design fits it or not. That's part of this mindset. So the decision-making process involves several decisions. Is it going to be big enough for the piece that I want, that I'm envisioning in my brain? Is it going to be sufficiently high quality to produce the point that I'm looking for? I don't always have the answers to that. It's a lot of times it's like, well, we'll find out. We'll soon find out if it's going to be good. If it breaks, it's not good. If it holds together and I'm able to get lucky, yeah, maybe it's good. I got to eliminate this. The worst thing that I can see. See, I'm always looking at the worst thing. The worst thing now is this part right here with this cortex on there. So let's take that off. Right, or attempt to do it. If I can't do it, if I flake into it and I go, oh man, something's wrong, then I'm gonna look at something else, another strategy or something. We'll see. Right now my strategy is to hit from here and possibly from here. See that? Convexity. Convexity. It's not that convex on this side, so it's a lesser. This is a lesser option. Okay? The most convex option is always the best option. Always. Yes, that's it. That isn't always. It is always the best option. The most convex is the best option. Even if the edge is all cruddy. Okay? The only exception, I suppose, is if you have the most convex in the middle and it's still fat on the sides, on the ends, I mean, or on the sides, then no, it's not the best option at that time because you need to thin down the ends first. I think that would be the exception. There might be some other exceptions, but the most convex areas are the best. And if you have to eliminate material to make something more convex, that's even better. As far as improving your chances. You can improve your chances for a successful flake just as long as you don't remove material that you need for something else, like the width of the point. You know what I mean? Yeah. I took this bottom one first because it seemed to be the easiest. It's actually easier to drive flakes when it's thick from the base. But I only know that after thousands and thousands of hits. if you hit from the side, it tends to wobble more than it does when you hit from the end. Wobbling is not good, in case you didn't know. Okay. So that scoop, same energy, same amount of force. That only made a little dent, and this one made a big flake. There's some sort of physical dynamics going on there that increase the chances of flaking from this side than this side. I don't want to guess on the physics. I just know from experience that that's what the case is. In a lot of cases. Not all, but in a lot of cases, yes. Generally speaking. All right, so I'm still trying to get the cortex off. It'd be nice if I could get that lump off as well. So whatever I can do opportunistically is good for the way I do it. Might not be good for some other people's ways. I don't want to get into all the different ways because there's many. It gets too complicated if I give you all the options. I'm hitting very, very hard. Much harder than that hit from the base. No, I'm hitting very lightly because I only want small flakes just to clean it up a little bit. See, they're starting to get longer as I'm going longitudinally with these strikes. The flakes get longer in general. That may have been just a lucky flake, but in general, if you hit longitudinally, you know, in line with the long axis, flakes tend to travel better. And again, I don't know the physics. And even if I did, I might get them wrong if I explain it wrong. I could know the physics and then explain it wrong. You know, by forgetting a detail somewhere. Someone once asked me, you know, how do you know when to take a flake off? Or when or where? Just look at the progress of the thing. If I took a flake off where you see me take it off, that's because I thought it was a good idea at that time. There's nothing really complicated about it unless I'm trying to explain it. When you're doing it, the mind takes over all this junk, this minutia. And it just goes by muscle memory and what you've done in the past and kind of repeats it. Kind of just repeats it. And sometimes you go, wait, it's not working. Then you can think about it. Some of you who are new, you'll think about the wrong things. There really isn't a lot of wrong that you can do with napping. But there is a few things that are wrong, yes. One of the big things that is wrong about new guys when they're flint napping, that they don't realize is wrong, is they try to take off more than they can chew. Try to take off too much, or try to do too much, is what I mean. Or peel off a flake that's too big. Yes, be adventurous and be bold, but don't go crazy. Some people overestimate their skill. If they have one good flake, then they say, okay, I'm at that stage now where I can take good flakes. I have reached that skill level. I can take good flakes now because I just took a good flake. And they don't realize that it may have been luck. Probably was luck. Like if you took off that flake and when you're brand new, you'll say, I I have reached level 14. I can take flakes like this off now. So you'll try to do that somewhere else and fail. Okay, did I know it was going to do that? No, I was just going for just up through there a little bit. Not that far. I didn't realize it would go that far. Not much energy. It doesn't, this flake seems like it was, what was I going to say? This flake seemed, when I first looked at it after I struck it off, I said to myself, man, that went further and took less energy than I thought. I was just trying for this hump here, not this stuff over here. I was trying for a flake about that size to get rid of this lump. It wasn't even that great as far as convexity goes. But voila. I could say, yeah, I meant to do that because I knew it was going to terminate right there. Yeah, that'd be a lie. Okay. And what's the decision-making process? Well, I look to see where can I remove a lot of material with not too much effort. I'm looking for low-hanging fruit, in other words, if you understand the concept of going for the low-hanging fruit. I don't see any. Some of you might say, yeah, there's a good opportunity right there and right there and right there. Well, yeah, probably so. So any one of those opportunities would be okay. But you don't have to go in a specific order necessarily. I'm not napping like I normally nap. I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, how do I explain this? I might even mess this up because I'm trying to explain it. So I might just stop talking for a minute and get some flakes removed that I want to remove. Or that I need to remove. I need to get it flat. I need to flatten it out and thin it out. I don't know. I really don't know exactly where the best places are. I don't set out to hit the best places. Because it's just too much effort. You don't need to know exactly where the best places are. You just need to know the limits of the stone and your own limits. You can know that to a good extent. Know your own limits and know the limits of the stone. After you get used to it, it's not that difficult to figure out the qualities of the particular stone you're working. And yes, it can surprise you. Yeah. But you get used to the stone you're working with. Well, hopefully. At the time, you get used to the stone you're working with at the time. The brain does that automatically. Okay, I'm probably not going to do the barbed and tang within 30 minutes. So I've got most of it bifaced. I'm going to cut the video here and continue on the next segment. Alrighty.